For question number one of the discussion, I'm going to talk about the main issues in the articles related to the Fox and Disney deal and why consumers should care about this news. Both articles covered the news about Disney's steps to purchase a part of the 21st Century Fox. NPR detailed that the Justice Department approved the proposed deal for a value of $71.3 billion. The U.S. Federal Department agreed with Disney and Fox and allowed the deal to proceed. However, it had one major condition. I will be quoting NPR now. The author detailed that Disney, the owner of ESPN, must sell off 22 regional sports networks that were originally a part of the purchase to avoid undue dominance in sports broadcasting. The reason why the DOJ required this condition was to protect the competition. The NPR article also shared that Comcast was competing with Disney in the purchase of 21st Century Fox. They announced the bidding for $65 billion, and in light of the new competitors' offer, Disney enhanced their proposal. In the end, the author narrated that the Justice Department gave Disney and Fox a 90 days time frame to meet all the requirements stated. Then, moving on to the second article, the New York Times also narrated the news on the Fox-Disney deal. They provided more information on the matter. The narrator detailed that Walt Disney Company announced the support and approval of Chinese regulators. The author said that Disney was still waiting for the approval of other countries, but China was the most important one. China's approval was a notable one because they gave their unconditional support to Disney without any conditions. Later, European regulators also approved Disney's acquisition of 21st Century Fox. On the contrary to China, they required for them to sell its European stake in A&E Network, including the History and Lifetime cable channels. The New York Times also mentioned how the U.S. Justice Department gave their approval only if Disney sold Fox's 22 regional sports network, and Disney began taking bids shortly after. Consumers should care about this issue because, as the public, the way that news are provided should be of prime concern. It is particularly interesting to learn about all the approval processes and requirements that go on before the actual purchase of a media outlet. All these requirements, like the ones detailed by the U.S. Justice Department, are taking care of how to suit the purchase of the competition and for the public in general. Overall, even though such requirements had to be done before the purchase, the alliance will ultimately result in fewer choices and higher prices because it will consolidate the ownership of important content and distribution properties under a single owner. Moving on to question number 2, I will talk about how AP, Reuters, and AFP covered the same current event in a different manner. I'm going to start with AP. They posted an article called Pro-Democracy Protest. In the AP article, the narrator conveyed the news in a very short and straightforward sentence. The main focus in this article is emphasizing that the protest in Hong Kong was pro-democracy. The narrator directly said that the police fired water cannons and tear gas to those who were protesting outside of the Hong Kong government complex. They had no other facts on the matter. The article included one single picture of a policeman attacking the public. Then, in the second article by Reuters, it is titled Hong Kong Police Fired Tear Gas, Water Cannons to Halt Protests as China National Day nears. This article by Reuters has much more details. Reuters includes details about the protesters. They were described as an anti-communist group. The narrator detailed exactly how the protesters looked, like the mask and black outfits they had on. The article also narrated when they fled from the police. Reuters added background information to understand the matter, like the protest commemorated the umbrella protest back in 2014. For example, they mentioned that the protests have been going on for 3 months now. They also included direct statements from police who witnessed the event and a video with more footage on the incident. The last article is by AFP, and it's called Clashes as Hong Kong Marks 5 years since Umbrella Protest. AFP also covered the story with a lot of details. They also included background information. AFP did the best job in conveying the news because they narrated the events by going step by step, explaining the history that led to the protest. From just reading the title, the audience understands that the protest was related to the umbrella protest. They included a lot of details, direct quotes from witnesses, and various pictures.